Alright, so a little backstory on this car is that it was attacked by rats. So a lot of the wires were chewed up. So we'll see some of this work here done by the previous owner who soldered the wires together. So this is the parking light that I need anyways. So out. So if we can't get the wiring going, wiring needs to be redone on this. That's why we're taking it apart. It was just on there for show before, but not anymore. When you're taking them apart, you can't forget that screw, otherwise you can end up breaking the bracket that it's attached to if you don't know that it's there and you try to yank on it. So it's important to know where all the screws are. There's there. Ouch. Okay. What I want to do is I want to see which wire is positive and which one is negative to make sure that I connect it properly here. I mean, you could look at it and you could say blue goes with blue and brown goes with brown. It makes sense. We want to make sure that you're getting it right. So what you want to do is you want to start the car. See the signal is flashing really quick. That means one of the signals are not connected. So now what we're going to do is we're going to test the wire. So I've got to find a good ground. So I'm going to ground it out over here. Now I've got to test this wire. There you go. So that's your positive wire. Now if you put this to the positive and this to the negative, again it'll make a circuit. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to assume this is correct. Okay, so now that we know the blue is positive and the brown is negative, these match up already, so it's pretty simple. We just connect them to the two together. Connect the two together. And now as you can see, the signal light is slowed down, which means we made a good circuit. The circuit's complete. So, I mean, if you didn't have these colors matching, it wouldn't be obvious. So you'd have to try and figure it out, and that's how you would test the circuit. You want to make sure the blue doesn't touch the ground. If it does, you'll probably end up blowing the fuse. You don't want that. So I'm going to connect the blue right away. You can solder these wires together, or you can crimp connect them, it doesn't matter. I'm choosing to crimp them because in this temperature here, sometimes the soldering iron doesn't work properly. So. Okay. Now, we'll make sure the wire's in the hole. You could end up crimping it and waste a crimp for that. We'll make sure it's all the way in. And crimp it down. I mean, I would solder, preferably, because as you can see, it's really tough to get the wire in there properly. So. And you go right in the middle. Try to make sure you got all the connections possible. Now, even though you got crimps there, you want to make sure you tape it so that it covers it properly. You're not making a ground, so especially this one here, the blue one, it's positive. Less risk of shorting it out. I don't go all the way down when I tape. I usually only tape the crimps because I want people, like if anybody goes back on this job and needs to know where the wire starts and ends, it's easy to get to. So, all right, now plug it in. now we got the signal wire. Let's get to the headlights. Now we got the parking lights on, and there's no power going to the signal, so obviously this wire here has got to be for the parking light. So now we got to find the wire for the parking light. And we're around here again. And we're looking in here. I'm going to use this harness. This looks like the main harness here. I had another set of headlights and they plugged into that, so parking light should be this one. So you see none of the other ones are lit up, so that's the parking light. So that wire there should go here. Now we're going to test it just for fun. We'll splice it open. And when you're doing electrical, you should have basic training in electrical and circuits at the minimum. You don't want to start, just trying anything just to try it. So let's verify that it's this one. Okay. So now when I put this here, look at that. See the light? So we know that this wire here goes for the parking light. And so that's what we're going to connect next. Now, as obviously you see the gray yellow, and it's quite easy to match it up. You see it's gray yellow. Okay, so that's why I put the test light to it, and we verified that. So by doing that, I turned the parking light on, which gave it power that we needed to test it. And so I'm just going to tap into this harness. I have a harness for one of the headlights, but I don't have both, so I want to be able to use this connection later on. So I'm just going to tap into these wires for now, just so that I could get the headlights going, so I could pass safety on the car. I don't want to splice too close to the head. What I did was I just exposed just enough of it to be able to wrap the wire around that, and then I'll be able to close it off. This light over here, I want to make that a part of the parking light. So when I turn the parking lights on, I want this to turn on and these to turn on. So now what I did was I tapped into the parking lights, and I got the ground going into the harness, which is the brown wire there. Alright, so we tested this wire here, the bottom light. It doesn't work, so we're not going to use that at all. So now we're going to be testing for the headlight wire. So I've got it grounded out, and so we know that gray yellow is the parking light, so we're going to ignore that. So the blue yellow is the headlight. So you got the parking light, now you got the headlight because the headlights are on. So now we want to tap that wire into the blue yellow wire. So now what I want to do is I want to make sure that, see, if I connect this straight through right now, I won't be able to put the headlight in. It's going to wrap over top, so you got to think forward. I'm thinking forward, so the headlight's coming in through here. So now what I want to do is I want to put a long enough wire to come out here. So it's going to come out here. Okay. So the way I tie up wires when I don't have the proper size crimp and no soldering iron is I'll twist it together and then I'll pull it back. And what this does is it locks it in place. There we go. So now the headlight is connected. Just gotta tape it up. Make sure they can't pull together apart. I'm going to tap this wire into the top. Make sure you tape it nice and tight. If you don't tape it nice and tight, come apart. Tap into the ground wire here. This is all temporary. This is just to get the safety done on the car. Now, coming through here. I'll make sure the connection is well. If it's not well, redo it. I'll make sure it's tight. No room for error. especially when it comes to electrical, because you could end up shorting out. There. Okay, so parking lights are on. Lights not on there. So that means that this is the signal light wire. Yesterday we tested the wires and we got the blue green wire connected. So that was the signal. When we tested that, we know that brown is ground. And so now what I'm looking for is the parking light for the gray purple wire. So now the parking lights are on, so I'm going to test the wires and see which one lights up. So this is the yellow green. This is the white green. This has to be the ground. So now we got the parking light on and we're going to test the harness. See which one is the parking light. That's not it. Now that test light is connected to the ground, just so you know. Okay, so that's not it. There we go. So it's this wire here, and I'm trying to figure out the color, but so this is the parking light that I need anyways, so I want to tap into that, so I'm just going to use the soldering point that I already had here. It's a little cold out today. It's like -3 right now. We're probably expecting snow. Yeah, so you can see tight connection, that's not going to go anywhere. I want to make sure this is nice and tight. There we go. Now what I want to do is find the headlight wire. So the headlights are on right now. And so we know this was the parking light, so that'll work, right? So that's the parking light. Okay. And so this is the headlight, because there's no power coming out of here, and then we got the one that's the ground, right? So this one here is the headlight. This is the parking light. Okay. Headlight, parking light. So the headlight wire is going to be the green-yellow green wire. So now as you can see, I spliced the wire, but I left this like little notch here. So what that notch does is it stops the wire from ever wanting to slide upward. So once I attach it to there, it's not going to go up. So now I twisted the wire together. And now that I twisted it together, I pull up on it. So now, and then I'm going to tape it like that so that it doesn't slide anywhere. So now on to the high beam wire, which we exposed yesterday. We had already found it yesterday. But we're going to do it again today. So it's the green white wire. We already know the purple white wire is the parking light. Right? We already know the yellow green wire is the headlight. We know the brown is ground. Okay, ground and ground does not turn the light on. So the high beam's on right now, and it should be the white green wire. And there it is. So the white green wire lights up. So we're going to tap into that, which we already have the soldering point here. See those work? Boom. And now we have headlights. So all we need now, all we need to do now is figure out why the high beam wire is not working. So I'm going to trace it back.